Hi, hello, I'm Mangu, back with another Inktober prompt, number 18, bottle, making my way through this list. So for bottle, I wanted to do a fantasy-themed merchant, kind of like in her stand, selling ointments and potions. So for the original composition, there was a bit more of an angle, so the view was going to be behind her, showing more of the stock on her shelves and all the stuff around her, and then there was going to be a customer she was serving at the front of her booth. But I'm feeling some burnout over the past few prompts, with what I consider the first casualty being swollen. Not exactly a failure, but I was definitely feeling the Inktober burn and kept pushing despite that, and to me, at least, it shows more so in that prompt than any other I might have been a bit tired during, and I really needed to tone down the detail in this one. But I couldn't overhaul it because that would end up being counterproductive, which is something I ended up learning the hard way when I overhauled clock. So I tried to keep it pretty close to my original concept and thumbnailed out just basically a few different types of angles that might be a little bit easier. After some help from my husband, we came up with the idea to do a kind of high angle perspective shot, and since I'm pretty familiar with this angle, it wasn't too difficult. I like this angle because it keeps the image interesting, but it also narrows the focus. So with this particular setup that I have with there being a frame, it allowed me to add a smaller amount of detail while still looking like there was quite a bit going on without feeling overly empty. But even then, there was a lot of negative space in the area behind her, so I ended up adding more shelves towards the top with some more supplies and then adding more bottles on them. This also narrowed the focus a little bit more, but still allowed me to add some more creative detail in the way of some supplies with some bottles on the tops of the shelves. So this character is making a scented oil and carefully infusing or adding things according to a few references that she has displayed in front of her. One looks like a recipe book, and the other is more of like a personal note or maybe even a list of annotations to the recipe she wants to keep in mind. Or maybe this is a personal commission that someone has asked of her. She has a bell on her wrist, specifically so that her partners will know when she's active, because sometimes she puts things together that are too strong and can have an unexpected effect, and she has been known to fall asleep or even faint while working. If the bell is silent for too long, they know to come in and check on her. She's known to experiment on her off time, and while sometimes her concoctions don't always work, she's considered very creative. So there was actually a window behind her in the thumbnail that my husband sketched up, but I had to take it out because it made the area look really small. It kind of suggested that there was a wall just right behind her. But she probably needs a window if she's known to pass out after inhaling her own experimental scents and oils. And I thought she should wear a mask, and I even sketched one on her, but for some reason, I kind of got the idea that she was this stubborn person that feels the mask alters the scent while she's cooking these perfumes and oils up. Maybe it's the pigtails. So as a compromise, she wears the bell. Even then, it's probably not a good idea to inhale the brunt of it the entire time. There also seems to be quite a bit of scent coming off this very small vial that she's working with, if that's any indication. I really like all the little details. It made it easy to create the character and to tell her story once I actually started sketching. There isn't a lot going on, but it's enough to keep the eye moving and generate some interest. The angle on her is actually a little off, but that's because I decided last minute to put an apron on her instead of a skirt, which she actually had like this really cute fluffy skirt in the thumbnail. But because of that, I ended up having to kind of change the way she was standing midway, and it kind of looks odd. But that's just something that kind of happened because of the little changes that I had to make. So since I'm trying to spend a little less time on these to lessen my strain, and since I knew this going in, I was mindful of it while I was inking. I used smaller blocks of ink and even toned down my hatching, but I decided to detail out her curly pigtails. Her hair is kind of a large area, and I didn't want it to be devoid of ink. With ink, it draws the eye, and without, I feel like it would still draw the eye, but for the wrong reasons. I also added the handkerchief to her head and blocked it out to help with that as well. I know some of these kind of details are not very interesting or maybe even a little bit boring, but sometimes it can be informative to know exactly how a piece was composed to help when you're applying composition to your own pieces. The minimal inking style here also makes this look a lot more like a shot out of a comic, and it might not be as impressive as my previous prompts, but it was a lot easier on me, and it took a lot less time to feel complete. So I'll probably try to use this kind of inking style for my Inktober prompts here on out, just as a way to get these done a little bit faster and just to ease it up on myself. I'm really trying hard not to skip any of the prompts right now. In particular, breakable was just so generic, like anything can be breakable really. And I can tell you right now that I was planning such a simple idea for this prompt that it just feels almost embarrassing, and I almost just want to skip it, but I really want them to be sequential, and it would bug me to have one of them missing. We'll see how it goes. I know I'm 18 prompts in, but it would just make me feel so lazy if I skipped one. I'm actually pretty happy with this. It looks very illustrative, and I've never drawn something like this before, so it was actually kind of fun. But thanks so much for watching. Tomorrow I will be drawing another one of my oldest original characters, the one that my husband kind of designed for me. So if you enjoyed this, consider subbing so you can come back for tomorrow's prompt, number 19, Scorched. I'm so tired. Maybe I'll try and sneak in a nap before I get back to the grind. Bye.